Hello and welcome into another new episode of That Movie Is Ours Now. My name is David Sugarman. If it's your first time here, thanks for stopping by. It's nice to meet you. And if you're coming back, it's really good to see you again. Like, rate, review, subscribe, all those good things. If you like what you hear, helps people find the podcast, helps it grow on all platforms. I'm going to keep this intro extremely short because I've been battling a cold all week. But if you like the world of physical media and DVD collecting and things of that nature, then you're going to love this episode with Ben Gilbert. I found him on TikTok. He's at Ben's Home Video there and as well on YouTube. And he does great both short and long form reviews of not just films, but of DVDs, of the physical packaging, of steelbooks, does tutorials on the different levels of resolutions and things that are way above my head. And that's why we're going to talk to him. Apologize in advance. A couple of audio issues that we were mostly able to work around, but apologies on my end for that. Without any further ado, this is episode number 13 of the That Movie Is Ours Now podcast with physical media collector, movie guy, all around awesome dude, Ben Gilbert. And here he is, Ben Gilbert of Ben's Home Video, TikTok, YouTube. He's all over the place. Ben, thanks so much for hanging out with me today.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me.
So let's dive into how a collector gets started, because you sent me an email and you said, yeah, I went on vacation and I got a book revolving around some classic 80s movies. But okay, so then you go out and pick up a few DVDs, a few videos. How does that evolve into the collection you have behind you that is almost 1,200 films deep? How do we get from point A to point B like that?
It was gradual. So just love films, obviously. Always watching films. So bought them, as you said, kind of gradually buying them. Just a film that I wanted, I'd get, then upgraded to Blu-ray. So kind of upgraded some of my DVDs, kept some of them, kept going. And then I think once 4K came out and I realised it was, like, when done properly, amazing. That's when I thought, this is what I need to do, and spent way too much money on buying stuff.
I was just saying, why do you think, obviously, I think the stat that I saw is that in the last 10 or 12 years, streaming services have gone up, by 1,200%, which of course makes a lot of sense in today's day and age. So given that, and as someone who loves physical media, why do you think physical media is important?
I'm a bit 50-50 with it, personally. So I think streaming is very important, but I also think being able to have it, being able to hold all the extras and stuff. I know some streaming services now give you the options with a couple of extras, but there's nothing compared to what a lot of Blu-rays and DVDs do. But also, some of them don't really do anything in the bare bones. But it's also good for, as everyone says, if it's not on any streaming service, you got it. You just go grab it off your shelf, whack it in, and there you go.
How did you start? I have a very good following on TikTok, a very strong following, over 100 subscribers on YouTube. How did it start where you have this massive collection? And what made you say, I want to start sharing a little bit with the world and connect with other film lovers across the world, myself in Chicago, yourself in England?
I don't actually have a good answer for that, to be fair. I never used TikTok ever. And one day I just thought, you know what? Let's make some TikTok videos with my films. And I've got quite bad anxiety, so I didn't appear in my videos for about 2 months or so. And I had to film them, do voiceovers, do them. I thought, I can't be asked with waiting all this time. Let's try and do it in the front of the camera. And it was much easier. So I thought, okay, anxiety be gone. Let's go for it. And that's literally how I did it. So I never used TikTok till I started making videos.
You speak so confidently, about, DVDs and films and movies and the difference between 4K and Blu-ray and on and on. Was there moments as you just did it more and more often where that anxiety stopped, or is it still, you still have to fight through a lot of it to do?
No, it ain't going away with me. I'll get it for everything. Don't know why, but you have to try and get over it, otherwise you won't do anything. So
Love that, and fellow very anxious person. So I
yeah.
get that. I get that completely. And How do you decide? I think one thing that's interesting, I'm not a DVD collector. I've got a handful, but
Hmm.
I make a point to, because I only have so much space and so much money, that I'm only really going to get a film on DVD if I'm like really already emotionally attached to it. So I have like some of the Spider-Man films, The Prestige, which is my favorite Nolan.
Hmm.
But I noticed you did a video talking, you're not a particularly big Harry Potter fan. However, in one of your videos, you got the box set behind you. So how
Yeah,
do
yeah,
you
yeah.
how do you decide when to pass and when not to, particularly if you have almost 1,200 films, they're not all your favorite films.
No, no, I don't have 1,200 favorite films. You're right. No, you don't really. You just see how much money you got in your bank account. That's how you decide. Awful, really. But yeah,
Fair
you can
enough.
see I've good like, editions and stuff there, so they obviously cost a bit more. But when it's a film you like, it's worth it.
I get that. Where are you looking for DVDs? I know here in the States, there's lots of good, Walmarts and Targets that have. Are you going to places like that where you live? Are you going to more boutique places that make very artsy versions of steelbooks? Where are you looking for DVDs and Blu-rays, 4Ks, whatever it might be?
Online for me. There is a shop called HMV, and it is brilliant. It is basically it is just home media type stuff, so films, records. It's branched out a little bit nowadays. Obviously, less people buy them, so they've got like toys and stuff. But
Mm.
I don't live near one. Oh, I mean, I do. I suppose in America standard, I do. It's about half-hour drive. So for you guys, that's nothing. But for me, that's a long way to go. Um, so it's just easier to go online. So I do shop direct with a lot of the boutique labels, especially. So like 88 Films and Arrow and stuff, I do go direct. But if it's a normal release, it's usually HMV online.
So we talked about, sometimes you will just get things because you like to have them. Sometimes you love them. Sometimes you hate them. And like most movies, they probably sit somewhere in the middle. What are a few things in your collection, either because the film means a lot to you, or maybe it was, the case or DVD was gifted to you, you got it at a special time in your life? What are a few things that do mean a lot to you in your collection for any reason?
I've got no particular like release, as in like a special release, but film wise, Stand By Me is probably like the one that means most to me. And it is just the normal version I've got. It's just a film that I watched way too young. I was like 6 or 7, but it's all stuck with me. And it's just, I think it's a beautiful film. Obviously, I've read The Body as well, the novella it was from, but I actually prefer the film. Whether or not that's because I watched it first, I don't know, but I just think it's beautifully done. So it's just something that I think, like, and it never fails to bring me to tears, no matter what. So that's my
Stand by
kind
Me
of
is an
main one. Sorry.
Stand by Me is a great one because coming of age films, naturally you look at them differently as you get older. How has Stand by Me maybe changed it all for you, or the way that you view it now versus maybe when you first saw it the first few times, whenever that might have been?
Um, I appreciate it more as a film, obviously now as I'm older and more into films, obviously. But it's just it's looking at it now as an older person. Um, yeah, you can see that they were just boys, and it was actually quite horrible in a
Mhm.
way. Obviously, it's a lovely film, but the kind of whole story of it's actually quite horrible. And as a kid, it was just like, oh, that's cool. They go and see a dead body. Where now, obviously, you look back, and not so cool.
Right. What if someone were to want to get into collecting DVDs, or just starting to have, stockpile a little bit of a physical media um, collection? I do think, as I was researching this, there's a lot of information out there, and there are a lot of different versions of things. Now there's 4K, and there's Blu-ray, and there's old DVDs, and some people still like to get VHSs. It can be quite overwhelming. Where would you tell someone who has nothing and doesn't know where to start? What would you tell that person? Because it can be overwhelming, and it's not always a cheap hobby if you want to have a big collection.
No, um, there is no real good place to start. But what I would probably recommend, if you're starting from scratch or very few at least, do charity shops or in your case thrift stores. Same thing. Um,
Mm.
literally you can get sometimes £5 for £1 over here, pound. And even if they're not the best films, just build up a collection that way. You don't always have to keep them in the future, obviously. It's a good way to kind of stockpile at the beginning. And I think, just get DVDs, just get a couple of Blu-rays. You don't have to go all in straight away because you'll just end up buying a load of crap that you don't care about. So you might as well start cheap. Then when you get kind of more into what you like, know that you like, then you can kind of be a bit more careful with your buying and stuff and get rid of the old stuff that you don't care about. Curate it, maybe is probably the right word.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the research that I was doing to get ready for this was, right now 4K is a sort of hot thing when a 4K DVD comes out. How would you, like in Philadelphia, explain this to me like I'm a 5-year-old? What's the biggest difference between 4K and a Blu-ray, or frankly 4K and maybe any other type of physical DVD, physical media that makes it a cut above and makes it a few bucks more?
So I'm going to go from, first of all, do Blu-ray to 4K, but I'll also do 4K streaming to 4K physical. So Blu-ray, when it first came out, was advertised as being brighter than DVD. And that's fine. But it doesn't always work, because obviously if it's a dark scene, instead of it being black where it should be, it'll be grey. And obviously that's no good. And it doesn't look nice as it should. Then obviously going to 4K, some scenes are darker, some scenes are brighter, and that's what the HDR, that's the important part of 4K to me, not the pixel resolution of it being 4 times more than Blu-ray. So the HDR is basically, it means the dark bits are darker, the bright bits are brighter. High dynamic range it stands for. So obviously it's more dynamic. So Blu-rays are SDR, 4K is a HDR, apart from the 2 or 3 I think that are out that don't have HDR, which I don't see the point personally, but it is what it is. 4K streaming is fine, and some stuff can look good, but you get a lot of poor quality compared to the 4K physical because they cap the bit rate. So I think Netflix caps theirs about 15 megabytes per second. A lot of, especially the boutique labels that put a bit more effort in than the main labels, they go to about 80 or 90 megabytes per second. So it's a massive difference. They normally do sacrifice it more on the sound for Netflix because a lot of people obviously don't have the right setup for it. They just use TV speakers,
sure,
or even a soundbar, which is to me perfectly acceptable. But obviously, you're not getting the full 5.1 Atmos mix, so they do sacrifice the sound more than the visual. But yeah, streaming can look fine when it's 4K, but also can look naff compared to a 4K Blu-ray.
What has it been like for you to, I found you just through, the TikTok algorithm, as it were, and as people have discovered you and you've connected with other people, what has it been like to connect with other people, whether it be about physical media specifically or movies, and build a little bit of a community of followers that you have? What has that been like for you?
Absolutely unreal. You know what the internet's like. Everyone's horrible to everyone. So that's what I expected. I just thought, I'll just do my little stupid videos, see what happens, and I'll probably give up after a few videos. And obviously I haven't. Everyone on there, bar like 3 people, are absolutely lovely. Like everyone. It's such a nice community to be part of. And it probably has made me spend more than on buying more films because I want to show them off to everyone. Where if they were horrible, I wouldn't want to show them, so they don't deserve them money. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. A couple more before I let you go here. So you are in, is it Birmingham, England? Do I have that right?
Yeah.
So obviously, as someone who's American, I think like our view of like British people when it's put into American movies is like, if it's not James Bond and very posh, it's very then like just snooty and royal, family. That's like kind of the vibe we get. What is a quintessentially British movie that like British people are like, that's us, not the royal family and not James Bond, but like that's kind of us. That should be our ID.
Not sure how qualified I am for this question because I'm not a massive fan of British films, which I know is awful, but probably like Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz, because obviously I know there is World's End, the other one, I don't care for that one. But the first two, they've got that kind of, not like you said, not snooty, everyone's a bit more common and stuff, but there is stuff like Attack the Block. Have you ever heard of that one?
I don't know that one. I've done, Shaun of the Dead, which is a blast. Don't know. What was it called again?
Attack the Block. It's like an alien film. I've only seen trailers for it. People say it's good.
Okay.
People say it's good, but that's kind of a bit more urban than obviously Snooty Britain. But yeah, there's probably loads of good British films. I'm drawing a bit of a blank at the moment, but yeah. Anything like I think the Kingsman's meant to be quite good as well. It's not my cup of tea, so I haven't bothered with it, but yeah.
I've seen the first. It's a good time. I didn't feel the need to pursue the sequels, but those were a good time and a good send up and spoof of the Bond, Mission Impossible style films.
Like,
I always
the kid was a bit rough at the beginning, wasn't he? Is that right?
Yeah. Say that again.
Imagine that. The kid was a bit rough at the beginning.
Yeah, a little bit. So, last one I've got for you. There's nothing better than trying to convince people to watch one of your favorite films. When you sent me your list, you put Blade Runner. I have Blade Runner sort of in my category of classic films that like I don't get. Like I don't not get the hype, but maybe I need a rewatch. Tell me just what am I missing with Blade Runner? What makes Blade Runner one of your favorite films? Why does it work for you?
So obviously you can't convince someone to like a film, but for me, I love the miniature kind of set building at the beginning. I love practical effects. That is me. I'm not a big fan of CGI at all. So looks cool, obviously. Love the feel of it. Good vibe. Great storytelling. Rutger Hauer. No, not yeah, Rutger Hauer. It's just cool, man. Like Harrison Ford's obviously good. I don't know. As I said, I'm not great at explaining things. It's just such a good film. The final cut is the one to watch. If I assume that's the version you might have, but if it is, that's the one.
And I did get quite lucky. I used to live in North Dakota, and they did a screening of it at a local theater, and they made clear to say that this is the final director's cut and his vision, and learning about all the history. It is, a really interesting history, the narration versus the not narration, what would work for audiences, what was too vague. And for people who haven't watched or just don't know the history of Blade Runner, a quick Google search, and even whether you like the movie or not, it's a really sort of interesting oral history. And it is a movie I feel the need to circle back to, because it's too interesting to not be better than I first gave it credit. At least that's how I feel, especially when I hear people talk about it like you so passionately. So I might circle back. So that was a pretty good elevator pitch, Ben. Ben,
yeah, I think it is worth a rewatch, definitely.
Ben, before I let you go, where can people find you? TikTok, YouTube, if you're anywhere else on social media, where can people follow, like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, it's just Ben's Home Video on TikTok. YouTube wise, I haven't actually bought any brand new films for a while. That's the only ones I do reviews of, because you don't get any views otherwise, because the people with more subscribers have already done it. So I'm not quite active on YouTube at the moment, but you can follow me if you want, and hopefully soon I'll have a film to do. But yeah, TikTok is Ben's Home Video. Yeah, that's it. That's Instagram, but I don't do anything film-wise on Instagram, so there's no point.
Last thing, I really enjoyed, you did a recent series talking about all the Terminator, home DVD releases. What might be coming in the future? Do you have anything in the works? Anything you're really excited to get delivered and talk about, or is that to be determined?
Yeah, to be determined, probably. The Terminator one is the only one that I've actually planned ahead of. All the other ones are sit down and just talk, and I have to do a lot of editing because I just talk shit all the time. So,
well, Ben,
problem.
You didn't do that today, Ben. This was an absolute blast. Thanks for hopping on. I'm looking forward to see what videos you produce next. And yeah, make sure to give him a follow on TikTok at Ben's Home Video for lots of awesome film reviews, film thoughts, DVD, releases, reviews, all that fun stuff. If you're a movie lover, especially if you're a physical movie lover, this is a great guy to follow. Ben, thank you so much. Have a great night, my friend.
Andrew, thank you.